Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron 3 with Black Ice and Third Reich Events installed, and we are testing out to see the compatibility of the two mods together here, whether from bugs or costs, like as in metal or other things. Okay, yep, that's good. And 2000. Okay, we'll do this now. That will get us down to that. See another picture of the model, the overall architectural plans. Big building in the center of Berlin somewhere. I don't know if the building still survives. Okay, radios, yes. We want to stop that technology because it's too far ahead. We can do something that we can do efficiently now. Start with the ones you can do efficiently because, well, unless you're like planning on doing, significant naval buildup right now, which Germany shouldn't be doing too much of that. You don't need to push ahead on, most of this stuff. Meaning you'll get it by the time you need it. So I just tried reading a forum guide to B-Ice that someone wrote. My God, I'll just play my dumb way because that is... Yeah, there's been some very detailed stuff, and part of the problem, in my opinion, with what Black Ice is doing is one of the best min-maxers of Black Ice is, oh my God, he... long time ago, and it's still up there, did a playthrough of min-maxing, and he is a better player of this than me. Not necessarily like a better, I'm gonna not concede that, better tactical management battlefield, but he's very good. So I think I'm good at Hearts of Iron, battlefield, whatever, but he's also very good. But he's definitely better on some of the min-maxing. So some of the stuff, and so since he's a developer of it, he sees the game as being a little too easy, I think. Just use submarines are a good thing to definitely use as Germany. I'm going to, at some point, well, oh, we need to move these up to the top. And make sure the important ones, yeah, that's okay. The ones that are mostly done, we want to make sure they keep building. Yeah, 8.1, that does sound like one of the older guides. And so, yeah, and so if you really min-max this out, it seems maybe a little too easy. And now a lot of those guides don't have TRE or GGA or Units of the Third Reich or the D-Worms mods installed, so they're not 100%. Yeah, this is still AVS. Is this the one? Armor, okay. Here we go. Okay, so that now, we could do tank destroyer, but we're not building any of those, and I would rather do armor plate thickness as a replacement. And unlike Reality and or Hearts of Iron 4, which is what I do like about Hearts of Iron 4, is these units will upgrade. So if they're building with older technologies, they will, through the game, replace it as opposed to having replacement equipment. Oh, we wanted actually a little more, I guess, there. Because we want to get that down to 0 so you get a little more benefit. Okay, we'll no longer receive that money, but hopefully we'll still have a cushion. We want to have a cushion of money. We want to have a cushion of all these resources, and this should not be. Germany shouldn't be like, yeah, steel doesn't matter. That is not. And so I'm not entirely disagreeing with everything they're doing. Okay, USA, I'm sort of, at least the wording of that event, I'm not terribly pleased with. 350, okay, we'll go to that. And more info, look around. I want you to see all my nice events. Medium popularity, we've lost high. And more metal, but down a reasonable amount. Well, we could do it right now, but we're going to wait a day or two. I am more metal. Yeah, we'll do this one and wait a day or two on this. We could decide not to do it, but we'll go with the popularity. It's meant to happen. 450. Come on, 5. German-Yugoslav trade agreement. Okay, we'll lose some supplies, gain some money, have other plans. That's nice. Yes, we'll do that. Oh, this is shifted again. Okay. I want to get it just slightly positive. Okay, let's reduce this down to just a little bit there. That will get us. See, this whole top row of stuff up here should not be a headache. Should be a concern. We should have to, make sure that we don't truly bankrupt ourselves, that we have enough steel, that we have enough oil, because these were all concerns at the time. But that last playthrough that we were doing last weekend, it was just too much of a headache. But do notice that without the trades going on that we've stopped, we do seem to be much better with what's happening. All right, California was a republic for a long time. It's going to take a more significant collapse of California, because yes, if you don't know, I live in California, so I'm well aware of what's going on. Not in like every little budget thing or every little, I don't pay close attention, but it's a Democratic supermajority. They've done, in my opinion, some illegal or unconstitutional, shall we say, as well as some illegal things. Every single Republican congressman in Orange County, which had been a bastion of 100% Republican congressman, all of them in the last election because of ballot harvesting, meaning you get to go, well, we need more votes. The election was 2 days ago. Well, go out and collect more votes. And maybe all of the votes they collected was actually somebody legitimately able to vote. Maybe. I don't believe it for one goddamn second. But let's state for the argument that there was no voter fraud in it. But what they would do is these activist organizations realized the vote totals were down because they changed the law. So what they would do is they would go around to, say, retirement homes or stand in front of places to get your check cashed, low income people or whatnot, with ballots to try, absentee type ballots to get them to vote. And there was some of that. So some of the votes may be legit in this that they were a person, but they would go out and hunt down enough votes to make sure that they won the election. So they keep voting until the Democrats won. There are still a few Republicans, but if you in Congress from California, if you were to look at an electoral map, including the last one, you will see about 2/3 of the geographic area of the states vote Republican. 1/3, but where 60+% of the people living here live, vote Democrat. San Francisco, all along the coast, from San Francisco along the coast down to the sort of the Mexican border, including LA area and all that. They all vote Democratic. I think we're going to see a change because I think Trump really means it, that he's going to stop illegal voting, because there's a lot of people that illegal vote in California, meaning they're not citizens that vote. And there's a lot of other stuff, and it's going to take a while. There's a lot of resistance, and he's got to get the Congress in. That's his. But I think there's going to be a move. And I think if they get rid of that, and of course Democratic incompetence continues to show up, I think we can go back to the days of having Governor Reagan, Governor Deukmejian. I remember Reagan was before my time really, but as governor, I remember him as president. But Deukmejian and Wilson, very sort of conservative Republican governors. And very liberal places like San Francisco and LA County, yes, but so there very well may be the change someday. But it won't happen really soon. Also, the state of California needs to go truly bankrupt. large portion of the state is yeah, just the big cities. And there's, as a percentage of the population, there are more people that vote. But there's also a lot of Republicans that just don't vote because they believe, whether it's true or not, they're not going to win in this state. And so and the way California is set up and the way a lot of states are set up, who wins this state gets all the electoral votes for that state. So if you win by just one vote, all of the votes go to whatever candidate for president. So it doesn't matter. This is why, well, Hillary got more votes. Well, yeah, because a lot of Californians didn't bother coming out to vote because they knew that Hillary was going to, no matter what, win in California. So why bother to go vote? I go vote, but others don't. Just looking this, we're going to see if there's any place that we should concentrate our industry here. Just checking out. I go vote, but others don't vote, and so they don't vote. So Hillary's vote total, as a total number of votes, is a lot more because, like I say, people don't vote and it doesn't matter. But other states, including states like Texas, where you have overwhelming Republican support, you get other votes. So as a percentage of, or as a overall vote, states voting, Trump won legitimately. It's a perfectly legitimate thing. And if a lot of people are going, well, you should go, popular vote. Well, you know what happens if you have a popular vote? One of the things is all those people that didn't bother voting because they thought their vote didn't count. People that live in New York City or whatever knew that it was going to go towards the Democrats. They're going to come out and vote. One, and two, you also get domination of the cities over the countrysides. And the cities are going to have all kinds of regulations of how farming should be done. People who don't farm will regulate farmers. I don't think that'll work out very well in the long run. What do you think of the proposed split of California from a few years back? Well, when I was young, there was the idea of a north-south split. That would make a little more sense geographically. Yeah, in ways it would be good, in ways it would be bad. This is the first year I will go vote. I can't have the stuffing with Biden, in office. Yeah, Biden is, a lot of people, especially people outside of America, look at America and see what's the difference between the Republican and the Democratic candidate. Not that they can't see some differences, but they all seem like the same thing. And these are in countries which, have a communist party that actually, gets significant seats within parliament and things like that. Yeah, Democrats and Republicans had been just variations on each other, but now it's going lefty loons, and Biden is just literally losing his mind. And I don't say that lightly. I mean that literally, in that he is, old man diseasing, whatever sunsetting as some people are calling it. It's not that he doesn't know what day it is or doesn't know, what he had for breakfast, but he's no longer sharp. He is no longer on top of it. And you can see that from the interviews. Now, a lot of the left like bureaucratic government. They want the cabinet or the, ministers, as you would call them in other countries, to actually run the government. So they're actually sort of fine with the idea of Woodrow Wilson being in a coma, because it's who you appoint to the cabinet. They're running the government. So that it's all these different bureaucracies. So they're not necessarily upset that if Biden is, not really with it and just sort of is presiding, going to all the ribbon cuttings and making the speeches or something, but just letting each guy, they're more interested in that. So those at the core know what's going on. They don't mind it. And the rest of America, I think, is starting to wake up to his incompetence in the ability to actually run a government. I'm not even talking about his policies here. I'm talking purely about his mental competency. Just as bright and talented as white kids. Well, that goes back to sort of the soft racism partially. The slip up is maybe old age or his you know, I don't know if I have a favorite. I mean, that's a good Biden quote. I don't know that I track it enough as to not have a favorite. Welded plate construction here. But there are a lot of Democrats, whether they believe it's genetic, some do, or whether they believe it's just, well, they have such an unfortunate growing up in broken households, in poverty, and all this other stuff. So they're not as good as what they see as most white kids as being smarter. It's sort of soft racism. It's not a hate racism. And some of it is not based on genetics, you know, your skin color really, but more your situation in life. And so they see that as a thing in U.S. Democratic politics, particularly. And that's why they believe in the welfare state for minorities. Yeah, well, hopefully the U.S. stays great. And the U.S. is great because it's ideas, not because, oh, we're the German people, or we're the English people, or we're the French people, or we're the... No, we're the Americans. And like we've talked, and I don't know if any of our Canadians are watching, Canadians are a type of Americans too. They're very similar to us in culture, in language, in viewpoints. They're very similar to us. But it's sort of the idea of America that you can become an American. You don't need to, I definitely can't become a Japanese or a Chinese. That's a definite. And I don't really think I could become a French or an Italian or German. I might legally be able to get some of their citizenship, but I would never, I'm not saying I couldn't learn their language and sort of kind of fit into their society, but I really wouldn't, in their eyes, really be an Italian. I'd be a person living in Italy and maybe very welcome there. I'm not trying to say that it's that, but I wouldn't become an Italian. Maybe my children or grandchildren would become an Italian, but I wouldn't. But you can become an American. And that is the idea, the concept of and it's more than just living geographically here. And we're losing a little of it. Because I feel the difference between Democrats and Republicans is way more obvious. Yeah, today. 30 years ago. I understood why people were two-party system. There's hardly any difference. Doesn't really matter. And that's another thing that a lot of people traditionally have not voted for because they didn't think it really mattered. And even if you're talking about the local city council that might matter for zoning requirements, they don't really think that candidate X or candidate Y was going to be any better or worse than the other one. Most in city councils, and at least like in California, they traditionally have not had a party affiliation. They were nonpartisan, so you didn't go through a primary. It was just a people voting, and so so a lot of people just didn't bother to vote because there was going to be no major change, even if their vote totals might be counted. But hey, if it's Bill Clinton or George Bush, it didn't matter. Really in my life, I got a good job, got a good thing. It isn't going to really matter. Now, I thought it did, but a lot of people didn't think it mattered. And so they just didn't vote. There's a lot of Americans that just don't think it mattered. And that's really a shame, but yeah. Yeah, and I'm not saying, again, if you were to sit down and like interview Biden or consult with him on, I think he's gotten a lot of history, decisions wrong. But it doesn't mean he can't be an elder statesman at this point and be an influence. But being on top of running the the U.S. government, and do we do risky things like sending the special forces troops to either rescue a hostage or take out bin Laden or whatever? I don't think he's the guy to do it. Now, Bernie Sanders, I entirely disagree with his politics, but he at least had the mental capacity, I believe, to do it. Can't even watch this right now, even on YouTube. Damn internet. Sorry, Brett. Yeah, it's lesser of evils. So, yeah, okay. I reduced the money down to 50. I think it was at 500 or something before. And yeah, that is more appropriate because there is, like, I think steel reinforcing going into this concrete lake that they're building to go boating and swimming on. And yes, I think Twitch is at one flat setting, but YouTube should be able to vary your what your resolution is. Well, that's going to hurt us in our economic situation. We'll see what we can recover. I'm not sure how far I'm going to get with this before releasing it, but so far it's looking pretty good. Yeah, no. Bernie's sharp. He has his own speaking habits, but Trump is sharp too, and he has his speaking habits. But you can look at his speaking habits and see them back 20 years ago and how they are today. They're the same. So he isn't mentally incompetent. He just doesn't string sentences together well. And that's just the way Trump is. Well, yeah, Bernie had the physical, the heart attack, which, and his age, which, and again, the Democrat insiders know all this, but they don't care. They just want to, their concern is to win the election, and they want to have the right vice president candidate to take over if something, if has another heart attack or something like that. So they're not as worried by some of this. The insiders who really sort of know and pay attention. The average voters, I think, if it made the news more, it would have been more of a thing to them. Okay, we got more steel coming. We're still... And how come they... Yeah, well, they're old. And the Democratic Party... See, you got to understand, the Democratic Party highest values is to elect minorities, women, and young people. So this is why they always go to the oldest white guy to run them. Oh, wait a minute. Well, they did go to the oldest woman they could find, Hillary Clinton. And all those women, all those people, we want a woman for president. We want a woman for president. But we don't want Carly Fiorina because she's not a woman. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, it's... Well, when a government does something unconstitutional, because we have this constitutional in America, and I know USA Man knows this, and like I say, we have a constitution, and it doesn't say you have the freedom to assemble, you have the freedom of religion, whatever your religion is, you have the freedom of it, unless there's a pandemic or some other reason the government... No, so they can't legally stop church services. That is illegal. The only thing you can do is declare martial law, and no one's declared martial law. The governors don't declare martial law because they wouldn't be in charge of it, because that's putting the army in charge, which is Trump. And Trump hasn't declared martial law, because martial means military. So unless you're declaring a state of martial law, like they did in the South during the Civil War, you can't legally do a lot of these things. So, yeah. Now, I'm not going to any mass meetings anytime soon. I would go to a protest, especially like one in my car. I would go to that in my car and honk my horn and maybe sit and block turn my engine off and sit and block a street or something like that. But I'm not going to go to a close, proximity thing right now. I'm being a little more paranoid probably than I need to be, though, being in LA. This is one of the hot spots. Not as bad as New York, not as bad as places in Italy and whatnot, but it is still a bit of a hot spot of stuff. Much more so than, say, where my dad is in Arizona, or, pick your rural state area. It's not nearly as likely of getting it. So I know I'm being overcautious on things, but it is a real concern here, a bit more than some other places. Okay, Democrats with few stubborn exceptions. The vast majority are my ex-employees with middle class are Republicans, no judgment. Yep, that's just that's the way it is. I'm one of the few that graduated with a political science degree that was an open conservative within the department. And yes, I knew the head of the department. I still got very good grades in it, but I was just that good on political science that even the teachers, and some of them I'm sure hated my guts. Though I do know, because I did, like I say, know that, and I had him as a professor a few times, the head of the department liked me, but liked me as a foil, as sort of the opposition in class, because I was public about the stuff. So yeah, I'm one of the rare ones that made it through this was many years ago, made it through the system, being a superior strength. And what was the other one? Oh, high density. Okay, I think I got it. Superior strength is down here. No, here. No, here. Okay, we're going to keep that. And high density is here, and it's done. Okay. Oh, well, we can do the basic here. We'll do that. So there are a few exceptions, but not. Yeah, freedom is better than security. Now, that doesn't mean... Now, one thing they can do legally, it may be wrong, but legally is shut down business. Because business, you have a license. And I don't know necessarily whether you can do it with a decree from the governor or mayor or whatever, or whether you really should have to pass a law to actually make it legal. But you have the requirements to have a business license. Like we, in a lot of cities in America, have aisle width requirements. Now, older businesses generally get grandfathered in, but how wide the aisles are in a supermarket. And they've been widened over the years to allow wheelchairs and other handicap type access. And fine, good, and I think some of the stuff they maybe go a little bit overboard on, but yeah, no, people should be able to get around that have trouble. So fine, yeah, wheelchair access, that kind of stuff. So they can have licensing requirements. So you can legally shut down some businesses, but that's different than some of these other things that they're doing. And so, there's absolutely no security without freedom. Well, you can have security in jail. Solitary confinement, that's damn secure. I think that was sort of Truman's state, concept of that. I think he said something like that. If you want absolute security, go to jail. Now, obviously, people get killed in jail just because they go out in the yard or whatever. But, you get the point. Advanced education. That's too far. We'll switch it to there. And 500-pound or kilogram bomb, however much a kilogram is. And yes, I'm teasing you, European people, with your kilograms. We'll do Bombay and broadcasting. Okay. And metal 800. Yes, okay, I did adjust this, I believe. I want my family safe. I have been at home for 7 weeks now. But see, OCB, I want you to have the choice of staying at home, not the enforced requirement not to be allowed to leave your house. And so, yeah. And like I say, if you're going to declare martial law or some sort of legalized emergency, that suspends that it has to clearly state that we're suspending the Constitution. One of the governor of New Jersey, within a couple of days ago, New Jersey is one of the big hot spots here, and it's right outside of the state is right outside of New York City, one of the major hot spots here. He suspended religious practices, and when he was asked, "How is that constitutional? How can you how is that constitutional?" He said, "Well, that's above my pay, or I didn't think about it, and it's above my pay grade." He didn't think about the Constitution, so he's doing unconstitutional things. And so, now you can go, "Hey, I would rather have the state control." Okay. And people like fascism. And know that if you're going for a fascist or a communist or a socialist or other sort of centrally controlled government. Now you can have, like we say, during the American Civil War, the Constitution was suspended. Habeas corpus and other things was suspended in the South. And in states and areas in rebellion, it specifically said that. So if you're suspending the Constitution, and it may be only limited suspension of the Constitution, maybe not all elements of it, say so and go through the method to suspend the Constitution. There are methods within the Constitution to suspend it. That is how you do it. Otherwise, you can't force people to stay in their homes in America. You can't. It's just not constitutional because you can't legally do it. And yeah, I was going to say something I shouldn't say on the internet after that. Mild dictatorship. Well, that's your right to think so. I'm a nationalist with monarchist sympathies. Freedom is better than security. You can have authority and freedom. Well, yeah, sort of. Okay, we want to see if we can sell. Let's do a search based on money to see what comes to the top. Soviet Union, do you want to buy supplies? Nope, you're not buying supplies from me at least. Iran. They have a lot of money. They're selling oil to somebody, it appears. No. Saudi Arabia? You want to buy supplies? Oh, they were briefly there. Rather have a brief something than nothing. Very likely. Okay. Where is the USA on all of this? Well, let's look a little more close to home. Okay, Japan, do you want to buy? Okay, 15. Okay, so let's money. Nope, that's impossible level. There we go. That will help. I'd rather actually have, especially if we're going overseas, I literally mean through the sea. I would rather have more varied places than one big one. Oh, there was, I think, a little brief window there. No. Okay, they're not buying Yugoslavia. No. Czechoslovakia, they probably don't like us enough anymore. Oh, they do. Okay, 11. Let's. Yeah, that looks good. Especially if some of these smaller ones will stay operating. We'll go over to names, get to America to see if they can buy anything. Oh, they really can't. Okay. So they're in a massive deficit. Okay, we wanted to do entertainment shows first here. We want that over. Others, okay. Let's go to trade here. Okay, we're importing from the Soviet Union 23. We got 25. 17 rares from Finland. From Bulgaria. Okay. We're going to, well, let's look at fuel. Hey, thanks for following. Do appreciate that. Okay. Crude. Iran. Oh. Let's stop this from the Soviet Union. That will help. Oh, he's going on about the Pope now. Gotta watch Ari and the Pope. He has a fascination. He has more of an outsider's, more of a, I think, a Protestant's fascination with the Pope than other things. He runs around and pretends to be Pope Clement III at times, I believe. Yeah, favorite died, and Yes, we will do this. Hello, Chris. Okay, basic tutorial. I had to leave my phone for a while. Well, I think there's just the tutorial, because I don't know if the playlist that I think Arno posted for you there covers all of the tutorials as I made tutorials. The otherwise, it just go to the Playing Germany series, my last big one, Chris Stolten, and watch that, because there's a lot of detail in it, and it's not just something. It's Pope Innocent III, Great and Fourth. Totally nothing bad happened in that. Yes, of course. So, yeah, that sort of Aries fascination with the Pope, I think, comes from all that. Yeah, I understand your bad situation there, USA man. Um, Unfortunately, I'm not talking about you personally, but unfortunately, the U.S. can't have the whole world coming here. We can have some people coming here. I'm for some, and I want to stop all illegal immigration so that bad things on the way here, being like kidnapped by coyotes and things, uh, won't happen anymore. So yeah, yeah, it's worth it. I can understand, but I want to stop the illegal. I want to have it regularized. Now we can, and I want Americans to decide on how many people we should bring into the country. I may want less than some other people. I do want a steady flow. Normally, right now, I'm for shutting it down for a couple of years before opening it back up, just so that we get a handle on who's here and regularize most of the people, maybe who's here, but truly shut down any coming in new for a couple, 2-3 years, then open it back up. I'm not anti the idea. I am pro the idea of people coming here. Just I want to slow it down, have it through a system so we know who it is coming in, and then I'm all good with it. Now, that's again just my personal ideas, and they change over time because as conditions and situations change. Oh, do we still have more technology? Oh, well, let's see. We have more than enough spies, so let's lock. Oh, we have also more than enough diplomacy right now, so let's unlock research. Shift way down on that. So way down because we're doing some trading still. Let's reduce the numbers of spies. Okay, that will now get us a lot more. Hydrophone, small warship, armament. And living in California, of course, I've known and been friends with people, shall we say, with iffy legal status here. And I don't think at least most of the people, and even Trump doesn't think most of the people that come up are bad. He's using and maybe over focusing on the bad ones to highlight, the murders and the rapists that are coming here. And so he doesn't think they're mostly bad either, and so that it just needs to be managed. That's all. Yeah, and people have different experiences. You're right, and thanks so much, Arno. You're really big help because alt tabbing out would not be the best thing now. Okay, money for rare materials. We're losing our fuel. We're doing too much fuel out, it looks like. Well, no, now we're back up. Maybe it was just an effect hitting us. Okay, so long as our rare materials are still increasing and we're not having a major deficit. Day of the SA and North Sea, Swiss Nazis. No, thank you. Okay, and no, thank you. Mostly on trade distances and whatnot. Small trades over long range do take up more shipping than it's worth if you can find other. Oh, sorry to hear, Brett. I don't know that you heard that, but Japan. Okay, we'll take your rare materials. We've gone slightly below that. And see, our economy is expanding now. I think some of our factories may have come online. We've definitely, because remember before it was 70 some, so we've come up by at least 10, I would say, in steel, but I'm not sure if any of our factories have actually come online yet. But we're going to be growing that. Now, there are going to be events with both within Black Ice and within TRE that will add industrial centers, both heavy industry and regular industrial centers to the game. With TRE, there's definitely ones that will be adding more resources that come about as the Hermann, part of the 4-year plan of the Hermann Göring Works that was adding more and more resource extraction for Germany. Ah, thanks, IKB. Oh, biofuels. Yeah, we're talking about that. Yeah, actually, I was talking to my cousin who works for, don't think it was Shell, one of the major, as a computer guy, one of the major oil companies in Texas. And one of the things they are starting to look at a bit is biofuels from like algae or stuff grown in the oceans, which you can eat some of that stuff. It can be processed. I mean, sushi has some of the stuff sort of unprocessed on it, as a garnish. But you can do some biofuels, but see, Malthus was wrong. I mean, fundamentally, Malthus was wrong. He's the guy that was predicting, mass starvation because population growth, and wars and all these other things because you couldn't feed the people. We can dynamically feed a lot more people than we are. Now, the biggest problem right now, overall, is not food production. The world can easily feed itself right now. The problem is, and I'm looking at Africa here primarily, is getting the food from where it's produced to where the people are, is infrastructure. The famine happened. You all are mostly too young to remember it happening in Ethiopia and Somalia region. Thank you, very loud car and whatnot. Down here, and millions of people were dying of famine. And yeah, we flew in some food immediately, but we could easily bring all the food into Mogadishu harbor. But Mogadishu harbor had very few cranes to move the food off the ship. So, oh shoot. So most of the food was in bags that was being hauled off the ship on people's backs, which gave local people work, being paid in food or paid in money to work. So that's good. But getting the food out to the people was the problem. Now, of course, the aid food destroyed any of the local economy growing food because it was cheaper. So if you look at that way. So food is not a problem right now for humanity. You know, getting food to humans in places may be a problem. And if, whether it's America or Canada or South America, because they grow a lot of food down there, um, if they're just pumping out all the food, they may destroy local farming economy, because cheaper, maybe better, maybe not better, but cheaper food coming in will destroy the local economy. And yeah, eventually the idea is to destroy the guy, you know, the guy out there with a handheld hoe trying to, you know, plant food and hand, you know, harvest it kind of stuff. We do want to destroy that to more efficient growing things outside of, you know, weird organic farm, living history organizations and things like that want to do it the way they did it in the past. But we want to destroy it, but we want to destroy it in such a way that it is replaced with good, local, efficient farming. Yeah, everything's logistics, IKB, absolutely. So, you know, we don't want to destroy it without a good local replacement. You know, so this is, you know, a lot of times we want to destroy the horse and buggy industry because we want to have automobiles. We want that to happen. Yes, we want a few, you know, again, custom build things, whether for movie props or rich people to have, you know, their own horse and buggy if they want to. We want a few of that to, as a cultural heritage type thing to survive, but we want to destroy the industry. Fortunately, it's worked out mostly that we destroyed that and have automobiles. So we want to destroy inefficient, bad farming practices on a mass scale. But we want to have ready replacements because we don't want the people to starve. So Malthus was wrong, but you have to satisfy the idea that we need first food production for humans, then possibly whether it's stuff grown in the ocean, whether it's grown on land, however it's grown, can come in to replace some of the stuff on, or add to food production. So for energy, but I want. So this is, man, look at all that out there. Look at that. 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 Look at all of that. That's all energy. That's all hydrogen and oxygen. And when you separate the two and burn them, you get fire, which you get heat and energy. And so if we were to do hydrogen and get more efficient separation systems, the oceans can fuel us. We don't need to grow biofuel. We can have hydrogen, unlimited amounts, at least functionally, of hydrogen. Hydrogen burns. There's no global warming gases. Even if you believe that that is a real serious concern, that goes away. Fuel problems go away. Hydrogen, 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 hydrogen. That's what I want us to push towards. Hydrogen. And we can also look at fusion reaction. I don't know how. I think we'll get there someday with that. I think it's quite possible. We just haven't got all of the kinks worked out. The tokamak engines can get on and be on there for milliseconds. Hydrogen cars would be great. Yes, instead of electric, you just have to store the hydrogen relatively safely. Nothing is 100% safety, but relative safety. Store the hydrogen. And we've got that taken care of. And so all these lefty loons are all going after solar, wind, electric cars that are powered by solar and wind. No, hydrogen. Hydrogen to make electricity, hydrogen to fuel cars. Hydrogen. You have to do some mechanical changes and obviously put a pressure tank to turn. You can convert most current automobiles, again with some changes, to pure hydrogen running. Most can be changed. It would be better to purpose built from scratch, a hydrogen engine car. That would be better than electrics because you don't have the electrical battery storage and the environmental damage of making all those electric batteries. But hydrogen engine cars could be right now. I don't know the cost whether you're burning coal or you're burning solar cells to separate the hydrogen from, from the oxygen and separating the water. We're presuming most of it's coming from the ocean, but, if Russia wants to build them from their, big rivers or whatever, wherever you want to get your water from. So you just have to convert that in there. And then most of the cars would run on hydrogen. The biggest problem right now is not the technology of putting it in the car. It's the infrastructure. It goes back to logistics of IKB. Everything is infrastructure. So they would need gas stations. Now, gas, not as in gasoline, but gas as in hydrogen gas stations everywhere so that you can quickly fill. And you need to, just have something that instead of putting a nozzle in that pours liquid, you just have something that goes lock, click on, that's a high pressure connection and puts the hydrogen into the car. And relatively safely, you don't go too big on the tanks for most of the vehicles. You can have bigger vehicles that have tanks sort of at the center, at the heart of the vehicle, where they won't be crushed too much. So you don't have too many hydrogen, they're not hydrogen bombs like in the hydrogen enhanced nuclear bombs. But yeah, you don't have too much of those kinds of things going on. And so, yeah, there are downsides and considerations. I'm not saying this is without cost, but this is, in my opinion, the best. Well, let's look a little more at escorts. We're going to be doing some escorts. Okay, well, maybe not so much. Well, let's go with fire control computer. Help that out a little bit. Brazilian Railway commissioned the British Railways to help them develop an ethanol-powered locomotive. It worked, but they couldn't find fuel additives that would make the fuel unpalatable, so the workers would not drink it. Yeah, you do have that as a concern. Okay, advanced training centers, very nice. Spearhead doctrine. Thank you for giving us the hints here, because it's down here somewhere. Here. Okay. Operations. Well, let's do artillery training. We need to get some of that going as well. Great. Fuel for some money. Good. We want that. We want a little more rare materials incoming. Advanced training officer recruitment down, because it takes longer to train the officer recruits, as I would understand it. Okay, let's also here come back to here. Let's reduce spying. We haven't been doing any spying. Oh, well, actually, let's, because we're still at 74 there, let's move this down to, let's go to 0 and just sort of wait until we see that go substantially down from 99. Yeah, let's do that. Runs on coal. Well, yeah, I would say so. Well, I'm sure. I don't know how much they ran them on coal. There are steam engine automobiles. That's how you run it on coal. Or, of course, you are liquefying. Germany ran lots of tanks and other things on coal. They liquefied the coal and turned it into gasoline. That's where the Brabag events are covering that within TRE. So yeah, you can convert coal to gasoline, liquefy it, and because coal is just basically there's other impurities and other things, and there's lignite and I forget. There's several different types. I remember reading about the stuff. Several different types of coal that had different impurities, but at one level or another, it's just basically solidified oil. At one level. Again, if some of you chemists or whatever want to dispute me, I'm sure you can, but on a sort of fundamental level, it's just solidified oil. So you can liquefy coal and then process it to gasoline, so that's cars running on coal, or You can look early on in some of the automobile developments. You were looking at steam engines to run cars, steamers. Jay Leno, a former talk show host here in America, has like an old steam car. Now you can run it on wood, you can run it on coal directly to burn that. Obviously, that's not very efficient. But yeah, you can do that. And they actually were in the early days of automobiles testing natural or coal gas. That's also running. I guess coal gas would also be running it on coal, because in the 19th century, gas lighting was town lighting or town gas or coal gas. What they would do is they would burn coal, and burning coal, and we'll get into some of this later on because we do cover this as well. You burn coal, it puts off a gas that then can be run through pipes and then burnt itself. And so that they would hook, early on, they would hook the automobile up to a gas outlet. It wasn't under much of a pressure, I don't think, so they didn't run very long because the whole system isn't under much pressure, so you don't have a high pressure situation there. But so that you can run it on, but the car could run on natural or other gas, probably hydrogen as well. I don't know, but probably that type of thing. Run it on a gas combustion, internal combustion engine. You can do that as well. And so Germany used charcoal from wood. Yes, absolutely. That's right. We have events covering that coming up. And it's sort of wood gas is what is most of the stuff was done with wood. But yes, and that is a lot of what's going on. Seaport capabilities, very good. Max Spelling is champions. We are the champions, or at least he is, yes. National decisions, yes, we will do Seaport. They're talking about reducing the cost, whether the length of the time of these events or the amount of the ICs or both, I don't know. I'm for reducing it a bit. And before this recent thing with all this economic stuff, I was very much trying to keep my hands off of tweaking their stuff, but they pushed me too far, too much away from what I think Third Reich Events needs to be. And as you can see, I'm trying to keep at least a couple of these in red, the rest sort of in green, and not produce anything else yet. We're not going to, and we still have the overproduction of resources. And I agree, at least in concept and generally how he's doing it, penalties for Germany if you over-spam factories. I may not agree with what his levels are. I think we're about ready to hit it for 1936, so I probably can't go in and change the save game. But producing the Graf Zeppelin 2, no, I don't give you the choice on that. Intentionally, or maybe I could. The way I'd probably design it today is give you a big negative if you don't do it, popularity or some sort of thing. Because I believe that Germany should, as in mimicking historically, as well as could do it more than they did historically, expand the industry. But at some point it does become spammy and overdone, so some restrictions, some negative consequences are good. I just don't know that I agree with the level of stuff that he's doing, and I'll have to go in and look at that. And that's part of what I'm testing here. And since I'm already playing with enough of his economic events, I might as well look at that as well. Okay, I'm fine with, well, that's a little big downsizing. Okay, barely, plenty. Okay, well, let's see, who could we, again, let's sort by. Well, they have a surplus, they have a deficit. Oh, well, it's crude. We don't want to send them crude. Okay, because we want the crude ourselves. Republic of China, they have a little bit of a, let's see if we can convince them to. And even we're doing, now we're already getting the China effect, so that's sort of already happening. Let's see if we can, no. Okay, very likely. Let's see. How much? Okay, 16. Let's see if we can. Yeah, I don't want to go too big. I'd rather keep it going long term. Poland. Does Poland want more supplies by any chance? No. Britain doesn't have much money, but needs supplies and needs fuel. Let's see. Will they buy either? Okay, let's see. Their money. Let's look and see if we can sell them fuel. That would probably be more. Oh, yeah. We'll do that. Well, the U.S. I know it'll be down towards the bottom here. Let's see if we can. Okay, they've got lots of money. Let's see if we can sell them. Yes. Okay. 53. We're down 22. Let's see if we can make up a good chunk of this. I know hopefully some of those other events will, or other trades will keep us going as well. Very good. Oh God, I hope more medical advances will continue to help, continue to go as well. That would be wonderful. Okay, good. We're now in the positive. Oh, that's good. Enjoy the show. Okay, 2,000 money. Again, see, this is something, you know. Yeah, I just disagree with their money thing here. I wouldn't disagree here with 2,000 supplies. You know, I'm not saying that these effects should be, you know, without cost. That is not what I'm complaining. Political indoctrination, which I think is, no, it's maybe down here. Which I'm not against. It's not that I'm trying to, oh, this should be easy. No. Give them money for rare materials. Okay. Chile. No, we just had that big hit to the money. So no. Battleship Bismarck. Now this should be a lot of metal. Okay, we can afford that now. Because yeah, they made the Bismarck out of metal. It wasn't clay. Money for rare materials. Okay, only because you're buying all of our. Okay, so we moved from small entertainment shows to big, so 4%, which will also get us more money, which is good. And sure, punk doctrine has advanced. Okay, that I think is one of these here, and then now we're at 36, so we'll continue that. No, we're trying to build back up to 2,000 plus. I just think if we had that go below 2,000 thing that hits, we would be in serious problems right now with that. Stefan Lux kills himself. Return manpower back to the pool. Oh, let's look and make sure I don't have a lot of air bases. No, or something that needed. Okay, good. I'm not sure about Japan and nickel shortages. Just don't remember right offhand. Very well could be. I don't need more conscription right now. Yes, building manpower up is useful. Hello, General Gabriel. How you doing? Hindenburg and the Graf Zeppelin. We're building the Graf Zeppelin 2 currently as a replacement. Good to hear. Okay, Secretary of Public Information, that's nice. And controllable pitch, I think that's a one and done. So let's come to here and shut that down. Let's look at aircraft. Now let's come down here and look at more artillery and direct fire training as replacements to those. The July Agreement here, allowing the Nazis to officially exist again in Austria. Okay, IKB, good to know. And this is one thing that, you know, steel is a product, not a resource. Iron is a resource. Refined iron is, yes, something of a product, but it is more of a, it's more dependent, I would say at least, and IKB or somebody can correct me if they want to, but is more dependent upon mining and, you know, resource deposits and the mining of it. I don't think the processing, you know, refining it out is that. You just heat it up enough and it's done. I mean, there's a little more to it than that, but not a lot. But steel at its core is iron plus coal heated appropriately through the process to create steel. Now, to create differing steels, whether it's spring steels or armored steels or whatnot, you're often getting into other impurities like nickel, like tungsten, like copper, and other stuff to deal with it. So you have it's much more of a product that's processed, and so it's a bit different. So manpower is displayed, for example, for you. You have 1 million in Hearts of Iron 3. That doesn't happen. Yeah, this number here, I don't know. You know, you can figure out. You can come to here and click on this and see. No, it's one of the stats here, and it's one I normally don't pay that much attention to. No, it shouldn't be way down here, I don't think. Oh, pause. Okay, well, you paused it for me. Okay, let's go to a regular unit here. Regular brigade. Okay, strength here. That's it. It's this strength here. I think, yeah. I think one of the, this 9,000 equals 9 of these, is what I think this does. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. But this max strength here that's the max that it can be. It's down a little bit now from its max. But that, and so this is its actual. So I think the 9,000 equals, because obviously it isn't 9,000 of these, but I think it's 9 of these kind of things. So they're a little more clear, and that was part of the mission of Hearts of Iron 4, was to be a little more clear of what everything meant than in Hearts of Iron 3. Okay, steel armor casting capabilities, which is an important technology. Okay, and it's casting, not just casting a steel, but casting a steel armor, so it's hardened. Yes, we're going to send these overseas, and since these are leaving the country, they cost money and not supplies. Gewehr 41 in the picture? Oh, you're up here? No, what are you talking? I don't know. Maybe, but I don't know what you're talking about right now. I either saw it and didn't pay attention to it or don't. Okay, no longer received money for fuel. Oh, that won't be nice. They get married. Congratulations. She flies. Yes, cool. Spanish Civil War intervention. Yes. You showed the stats of the infantry. Oh, yeah, they're Gewehr 41. Yeah, don't. These are nice pictures, and the real thing here is the number 3. I think Oh, is that? I think that's the Volter, or is that the Mauser? It has the external cocking bolt on it. But yeah, pictures don't necessarily relate entirely um, with things. I have other hills to die on, shall we say. Okay, we're losing too much. We need to see if we can sell more supplies to the U.S. And I would rather have not necessarily small, these aren't small trades, but more smaller than like one big 50 or whatever. Just less likely to get canceled, or if one gets canceled. Okay, no, we want to come here. Okay, yeah, 38. We want to stop that. Oh, well, we're going to stop that as well. We're mostly trying not to do 37 technologies right now. Well, let's do nav tactics and nav strike tactics. Well, the magazines are all fixed and internal. There was no detachable magazine for the Gewehr 98 or Karabiner 98. There were extended magazines, mostly for trench guns, that were sort of sniper mounted in a rack kind of thing, not so much that soldiers carried, that extended out the bottom, but those were still multiple stripper clip loading situations. So yeah, they have a internal box magazine, non-detaching, or like I say, few rare models that have extended magazines, but they don't. You know, you can use a tool to take them out if you want to take them apart, but they're not swapping to load them. And the Germans, with their detachable box magazines, I think most of them still had a stripper clip. Okay, Abyssinian War is over. A stripper clip loading system on the top, and most of the photos I've seen are the guys carrying them carry one with the gun, and have a pouch that has two, one sort of joint pouch that can hold two mags. So they have like 3 mags for the gun of 10 rounds, I think, is what most of the the Gewehr 41s, the Car 43s use. And so they're 10 rounds, and so there's 30 rounds, and then they got to reload with stripper clips into those magazines. So they weren't quite the modern keep reloading, swapping mags. So it's just a few mags. They quite didn't, and I don't know if it was I don't think it was a production shortage. I think it was just a tactical idea that it wasn't to like spam out huge amounts of bullets. It was for a quick action, a quick close action that you needed, lots of shots, but then slow down, reload, because again, gets back to IKB logistics. If you're just constantly firing magazine after magazine after magazine of ammo, you're going to run out of your supply depots. And since most of your troops are still using horse-drawn wagons to move a lot of your supplies around in the German army, as the majority, Liberia, we're going to decline. Egypt, okay, we'll do that one. And so you don't, they were sort of conscious. Oh damn, that's going to run into our. We'll see the effects of that ending. So they're tactical and supply logistic features. So they did, short tactical battles. You can reload fast, but they didn't want to do too much. Because magazines cost more than stripper clips to make, but not that much. Not, it's not until you get to the Vietnam War and that's sort of ends, I think, mostly after the Vietnam War. I don't know if any current service people want to chime in. But at the Vietnam War, with their 20-round mags for the M16, those were almost thought as disposable. one use. The U.S. also sort of thought semi-disposable was the M1 carbine magazine in World War II, but because a lot of times the ammo would come in, flown in on the helicopters, in sort of loose cloth bandoliers in mags, and so you just get resupplied. You'd have your mags in your pouches, but and then maybe carrying a few extra bandoliers of light cloth mags, but your resupply coming in via helicopter or whatever in the middle of firefights was coming in at ammo in mags, and so they were not collecting those magazines up after it very much. So that was a sort of a disposable mag idea at that point. Google, what I didn't. Oh, trench magazine. Yes, this sort of big extended trench magazine. Part of the problem with that is it gets sort of heavy, my understanding. Yeah, there is a weight issue there, though. With the very light M16 magazines, there isn't much of a weight, and the M1 carbine magazines are also very light, and so they're very. Oh, we're into too much. Okay, we've gotten through at least the first big set of steel production. Oh, that's 86 is pretty good growth. Okay, we have not too many more stupid events that are. Including, I'm not judgmental of other people's mods, including my mods, that stupid events that spam in big steel costs unnecessarily. We should probably be okay. Okay, they could use more factories. And I may push this over the quote-unquote red line of how much we should have, but I want to see. Because I want to be able to, and it's partially yes I want, but it's also partially I think that early spamming out factories is both a historical reality and a historical possibility. Those are two different things. And I could discuss later in more detail. Okay. And we're going to continue our factories up the Oder River here. Rivers, especially these type of rivers, were good for barge traffic, good for hauling resources around at a very low cost. Let's put some maybe along the Elbe here, but we're doing it mostly here in the east. Okay. And we can maybe around there. It'd be easier just to move all of these down, I think. Okay, so we're producing a lot, but we're going to reduce this down, I think, because we're at rather high capacities. Okay, also refers around, I believe. They also couldn't hold as much as a clip starting out, of course. Well, clips held 5 rounds. A lot of guns, a lot of the reason. Well, there's a few that carried 6, but most clips held 5 rounds. And again, if we want to say stripper clips, but clips, not all are stripper clips, but most hold 5 rounds, or most mags hold 5 rounds. The British are a bit unique in that they had a 10-round detachable, but their detachable magazine, again, was just for cleaning. They had originally thought to maybe issue a second mag for mag swaps, but that never happened. It was just sort of a theory, and it was sort of there with their Enfield rifles, but it was really more of a detachable magazine for cleaning purposes than a detachable magazine for swapping out purposes. And it wasn't until really the M1 Garand, or Garand, that you have the 8-round magazine that used an N block clip. Well, are there still World War II weapons? I don't know how many World War II weapons. There's a lot of World War I weapons that are still being used. The U.S. still uses the M2 50 caliber heavy barrel, which is a World War I weapon. Well, 1920. I mean, it was developed during World War I, and not. I guess it's the model 1921 is the water cooled one. So that's sort of a World War I weapon. The 50 cal machine gun, that's still in operation. I don't know if you consider the 1911 still in operation, not in the U.S. Army anymore, but or any of the services. I think maybe the Navy. I don't know. Navy's sort of lagging on some of that stuff because they don't use much of it. And I don't know, but I'm thinking, frontline use, not as some around, because my 1911s are based on World War I weapons. Yes. Well, actually, my dad has a 1911 and a 1911A1. So the 11 is made by Colt during World War I. The other one was made during World War II, the A1. And yeah, there's still a lot of that. Now, I own a bunch of World War I and World War II weapons, but I think he was talking about still in use as in the armies. And you definitely still have things like reserve units in India using Enfield rifles, and police units using Enfield rifles, the bolt action stuff in India today. But frontline use, we still use the M2 50 cal machine gun, and that is a World War I. The Enfield rifles and most of the Gatma rifles. Yeah, okay, Afghanistan. Yeah, the various tribal people, most assuredly, but I don't know if that's significantly different than America. They just actually shoot at each other more than Americans shoot at each other with them. But I was, again, taking modern frontline service. So yeah, the 50 cal is one of the longest. And I remember to come down. I'm remembering this time. Move these to the top. Oh yeah. And the only thing, and I don't know that the US has done it yet, is the major update to it is the Belgians did a quick change barrel for it, for their version of production. Yeah, she flies to 3 continents in a day. We'll talk about there, what to do. We shall break the reg, yes. Manpower, supplies, money, fuel, that all sounds good. We'll get the manpower back later. They'll get a unit. Okay, that took a lot of our money out. Okay, and this again is why I didn't like that. Go below 2,000 BS. These events happen. And money for foreign stuff, again, I'm all for. Now, okay, the US, can we sell? Yes, good. How much? Okay, they have 42. We're down by 14. Money, so let's come in. Let's see if we can actually get, well, let's see if they'll do the 50 for 18. Good. Oh, well, yeah, now the bullets, yes. 30-06 is not commonly used in any military that I know of anymore. 303, again, if India is still used, but they may have converted them to 308. I don't know. So 303 is mostly not used. Mostly not used. Most of the other ones, I think it's mostly the Russians that are still using the World War I or pre-World War I Mosin Nagant round. The 7.62 by 54R, that R stands for rimmed. Yes, NSKK, traffic police. Yeah, we'll do that, I guess. And we're going to reorganize the war ministry, because if we get a negative one, we don't care right now. Our 45 caliber, of course, and pistol calibers are, generally speaking, I got to change the text on it at some point, but they are, Coca-Cola was a sponsor of the Olympics, and that is first time being shown the new graphic for that I did, got rid of the old incorrect one for Coca-Cola for the Summer Games that I made. I think both informative and colorful and looking good. Meets my requirements for that kind of stuff. Okay, let's look. Okay, we're still just producing factories at this moment and a little bit of steel. Yeah, it's very close to an M1 Garand. You're absolutely right, and it is more of a change than just adding a detachable box magazine. Italy did their BM59 was an M1 Garand, as I say it. Garand is becoming more popular, which is actually I guess how you pronounce the guy's name. And it's not Grand; it's either Garand or Garand, but because there's a Garand. The BM59 in Italy was just basically a box magazine set up for the 50 cal, yeah. But 9mm Parabellum, 45, 32 ACP was commonly used in World War I and II. 380 ACP again used in World War I and II. I don't know why Germany was requesting Walter PP pistols. Those are bigger than, they're very similar to, they're basically a full-size PPK that you're all familiar with from James Bond. Why they were asking for them in 32 during the war and not 380, because it can be built in either one and it doesn't change the external size of the gun, whichever caliber you make. It's just the barrel and a few other internal things, either the same size for the 32 or the 380, but they picked the Luft, or whoever was buying them was picking 32 caliber. They call it what, 7.65 or whatever it is in the millimeters. Okay, we would give them money for rare materials. Now we're trying to build up more. I'm going to accept the deficit of rare materials because I want to get up there for more money. Now let's come over to here. Yeah, okay, we're good. Silver medal, and I don't know who got the golden sculpture, but he got silver medal in sculpture. Yes, the Bonhoeffer, he should be remembered. Rare materials. Oh, again, no. Oh, they wanted fuel, I think. Damn, I messed that up. We give them, well, I messed that up. Well, maybe I can do it more manually. Okay, yes, we want to, they've got lots of money, so, well, let's go 50 fuel, or 30 fuel, yeah. Good. Well, the larger the number, the bigger here, because it's 32.32 of an inch, or it's 0.38 of an inch, or 45 is 0.45, you know. So 45 is just under half an inch. 50 caliber is half an inch. So 32 is a smaller bullet than 380. 38 or 380 is 9mm, and it's I think it's 765 millimeters for the 32. And we just say 380, 38, and 9mm to differentiate different chamberings of the same diameter bullet, because they're the diameter of the bullet. I'm curious about the new, I don't know much. The Chinese are starting to show, yeah, there's new works of bullets. I've read a little bit about them. I just can't say that I know much about them to talk intelligently on the subject. I'd rather just admit that than try to BS people. Where some of this stuff, I've worked in the firearms industry, and I may, obviously, yeah, because I'm just going from memory, slip up here, but I really do know a lot about small arms of various types and their historical use. So, not the world's greatest expert or anything like that, but I do know a lot. Okay, yeah, the AK-74, they use what, 5.45, I think it is. That one I've never really played around with, so I don't remember. Trade with Siam, money, how big of money we're coming in. Okay, we'll accept that. It was their attempt to mimic the 5.56 of the U.S. If your enemy's doing it, it must be good, so we've got to do something similar to the enemies. And that's really not taken off outside of the Soviet Union, to my knowledge. I don't know of many major, like China and some of these other nations did do runs of productions of guns in that caliber. Yes, we'll support the SDP. But I don't think there's been a replacement adoptions, you know, replacing 7.62 by 39. How far down are we? How much do we have? No. Let's see if we can get the Soviets to do you have rare materials, Soviet Union? Yes. See if we can buy from them. Just so that we start getting some of our links. Money 11, yeah. Instead of coming over the ocean, we can get it. So until we're at war with the Soviet Union, we have safe trade with them. Hello, 09 Jacko. How you doing today? Yes, we will support the Swiss Nazis, money and supplies. Again, this is why I like to have more than 2,000, because we do have external costs that I consider appropriate for money to be spent on. Spain, yes, you can have most anything you want, because I want you to defeat the commies there. Now this playthrough we're not going to get that far. I think this is under artillery, yes. But there's both upside and downside for at least me playing as Germany when it comes to Spain. And whether the nationalists win or lose. Capital Ship Raiders will do that. If the nationalists win, just because I want to play somewhat historically, as Germany, I'm not going to invade Spain. So that means, well, might mean the savior. Now, if I can get Germany into the Axis, that's a different matter. Those are different than not invading. But if I can invade, I'm not going to invade if I could. Might make it harder to get Gibraltar in. And whether I want Japan or Spain into the war or not, that's a different question than just in the Axis. Now, if they go socialist or Republican Spain or whatever you want to call it, then I probably will invade. Now, that means more conquests coming down here, but also means more areas to... Now, I could go to puppet it. That would be an option. But, you know, and turn it into effectively into nationalist Spain, but I don't know if they win. So, but we're going to try to have them defeated. Okay, submarine, long range, which is grayed out, which is good, and these torpedo tubes and everything are much later than we're currently researching. So we're going to keep this somewhat naval, I hope. Okay. I don't know how much we should. Capital ship screws. Some of these things on some of these ships will sort of upgrade through the normal upgrade process. Like fire control, that will do through the normal upgrade process. And they've added more stuff like screws and I don't know, hole shape optimization and some of these other things. But I believe that to get the ship upgraded, you need to send it back through the production cycle to get that upgraded. So I generally tend to avoid that. Well, we'll do this. Avoid doing that. Yeah, 545 by 39 specific. Thanks, USA man. Yes, very different bullets being shot. Hey, frog-leggers, how you doing? Invader puppet, why so aggressive? You're a warmonger. Well, of course, we're Germany. We're more warmongers. We want to stamp out international socialism. while preserving National Socialism. We'll give them money for rare materials. No, we'll just take your rare materials when we invade you later on. We'll no longer receive money for fuel. Okay, good thing we didn't go and spend too much of that. Looks like I just saw a flash of some factories being deployed, or was it steel? No, we still got a few steel. Okay, yeah. More into production. Yeah, let's come in this way here before that all happens. Just keep it in the again, focus. It's all right to spread them out from the focused ones, so long as you are maxing out your production in heavy industrial focus centers. I'll move that one up to the top, but otherwise that's all good. Okay. Okay. Where is this? Dusseldorf and some other place with a D. Dortmund, probably. Yes, we'll add there, and Dusseldorf. Yeah. Why pocket? What is a pocket? A pocket battleship is sort of a big armored cruiser, or an armored cruiser with battleship scale guns, and they broke the treaties even with those, but they claimed they didn't, as in displacement size. I keep forgetting. Okay, armor 2, okay. And at this point, 36, of course, they've renounced some of the Treaty of Versailles, like occupying the Rhineland, but they hadn't fully gone, hey, yeah, we're building big battleships that, you know, break the treaties or whatever. They hadn't quite done all of that yet. You give them money for rare materials. Okay, we have the money and we'll support you, Japan. That'll help you out. Incendiary bombs, nice. Nope, we're trying to build our money back up. Italy. Oh, you want energy? Okay, even a small one, we'll do that. Yeah, and you know, pocket battleships for Germany is a good idea, because Germany, as you can see, is mostly a landlocked nation. Germany has most of its major threats are share contiguous land at this time. Now, once you conquer everything, if you ever did, then yes, your threats become Britain and America, and a navy will help there. But you're probably, even with all of that, until you really get to, you know, defeat the Soviet Union and change all your focuses, you're probably not going to build a navy that's going to defeat Britain or what America could do, even as sort of at the time with its older battleships that get sunk at Pearl Harbor. You're probably not going to defeat that, but you can make Britain worry about your navy. You can, whether it's commerce raiding like they did, you know, out with them, or just simply having some battleships just so they have to have a home fleet sitting back here worrying about them. So you want to build a fleet that is something they have to worry about, but you don't want to spend too much money on it. So I do think the pocket battleship for Germany is a good idea. You know, it isn't going to win you the conquest of the seas, but it makes your enemies worry more about that than, say, building tanks to drive into your country. Okay, Romania. What do they? We give them energy, absolutely, and we also want to. Well, let's do some looking for. Where is fire ship control here? Fire control here. Well, maybe it's just Dual purpose guns, we'll do that. I don't know if that needs something to be upgraded through the factory or if it will just upgrade naturally. I just don't know, but maybe. Okay, fire control computers, we'll do some of those, and damage control. Those will just the natural upgrades, which I'm good with. Twin engine bomb bay advance. And of course, my naval strategy as playing Hearts of Iron 3 or 4 is avoidance of naval battles. So, what was that again? I'm talking about too many. Oh, engines. Twin engine aircraft bomber here. See, I remembered. I'm not entirely Joe Biden'd out. Okay, well, I don't know how much we're going to do 4-engine airplanes. Yeah, we'll start doing some of the twin engine research here. Because we do want good twin engine models. Yeah, it's trying to keep track of all that I'm talking about and following along with you guys and trying to play. And what was that I'm going in for a tech change to check on stuff. And some of it is new, their new format, which I'm not, again, I really love a lot of, air launch torpedoes. Yeah, that's one to get. Yes, that's one to get. But we also want to get here, which is here, these. So let's do the holes first. They take the same length of time, either one. Der SA Fuhrer magazine, air bases, we're building those. Let's make sure we move those to the top, and any other ones we may have forgotten. Yeah, I think Japan, we sort of kind of thought we had taught a lesson to Germany in World War I. Don't, try to take on the world. Well, they didn't learn that lesson. We had to teach them again in World War II, at least by conquering it. Now Germany, now that they're united, they're trying to take over economically and politically with the EU, in my opinion. Addis Ababa, I guess is what that's supposed to be, though. That's a misspelling from, unless there's some other place. Expecting 2 B's. Massacre attempted, Field Marshal Graziani, 2 young Eritreans named. Oh, no. Maybe this is a different place. 2 young Eritreans throw a handful of grenades to kill the Supreme Governor. Okay. Why is it Eritreans and he's Addis Ababa? I think that is because he's the governor down here. I don't know. I'll read this when we go through the event more. That's also something that might get me demonetized if I start talking too much about it. Money for no. I know, but we're not going to do it with you. So Germany's trying to gain more power and influence politically and economically instead of through panzers and aircraft. And okay, that's legit, because the U.S. is, I'm saying it's legit because I think it's legit because Greece doesn't have to take German loans and then try to repay them. No one has to buy German products, though, unless they start forcing that in the EU, then that would be bad. But no one is really, because we see Britain leaving, no one's forced to join the EU. So that's voluntary economic, political type power, fine. The U.S. does it too. I'm all good with it. I don't always agree with the policies, either whether it's my nation or some other nation, but that's all good stuff. I think Japan has learned its lesson that it's not going to try to build an empire. I hope. They have always maintained a fairly large armed forces as their defense forces. Well, in the post-MacArthur era, once he's done being shogun of Japan, because that's functionally what he was. Once he's done with that, Japan has maintained a pretty strong army and navy, but it has been very sort of close to home based. I think they're starting to realize, because they do have, see, nations have strategic interests. Now, Japan, along with Hitler and others, for various reasons, some economic philosophies, some, thanks for following, do appreciate that. Some ideological based, there's various reasons for it, felt they needed to actually physically control territories. As in whether you're creating puppet states like Manchukuo or direct control. Now, that is not the case. That is not the best way. Especially if you're talking about culturally different. Now, Koreans are, culturally more similar to Japanese than Koreans are to culturally similar to French people, So, but there are significant differences. So, uniting Japan, uniting Germany, okay, those are valuable things. And, Germany reunited after, the Cold War was over. And so, but Japan does have interest, because it isn't going to, if we, as earlier talking about hydrogen, it has enough, if it starts developing hydrogen fuel, it has access to enough hydrogen. But it may not have access to enough, iron or steel, or however you want to deal with it. And so it may need to keep the trade lanes open, the sea lanes. And so it needs maybe a longer legged navy, the idea of maybe having aircraft carriers or something like that. And so long as we don't see Japan feeling that it needs to invade everywhere, I'm good nowadays, because even if they bring back some of the how often do I stream? I stream mostly Saturdays and Sundays. Periodically I stream, coming up this week it's going to be Thursday for Slytherin, and a few other random times. So yes, if everybody wants to follow it. Of course, I have my YouTube channel. You can scroll down on the Twitch page and see my link to YouTube. I'm also streaming there live right now as well. So follow, subscribe, whatever. So yes, so you need to be able to keep the sea lanes open, and China is becoming more of a worry about that. And so I'm in favor of it. And I was going to say, some of the Japanese samurai spirit is still left and coming back a little bit, and I'm not really worried that they're going to try to take over the government and have a coup like they did in the past. Either try and or did at different elements during the 20s and 30s. So, yeah, and even a little attempt after World War II, I think, at some point. So I'm not worried. And we're not going to stop the stream at all. We're going to keep going, but I'm going to stop this episode for YouTube. Again, thanks to everyone who watched. Do hope you follow, subscribe, like the videos. See you next time for more Hearts of Iron.